everyone. Uh, Recording is in progress. We have folks tonight from the St. Paul Public Library and Hayden Heights Library specifically to talk about the fundraising efforts that they've been doing, as well as some not only updates to that, but some other things that are happening at the library. So, Marika, are you starting?
Yes, I'll get started.
Why don't you introduce yourself and we'll go from there.
Perfect. And then I normally stand up to present, but I'm a small group, and also to be able to be seen by the owl, I might just stay seated. It's like that would like trying to judge from the frame. I do a lot of virtual stuff. My name is Marika Stalak. Are we gonna see the PowerPoint too, or?
Yes, it'll be up here.
Okay, great. My name is Marika Stalak, and I'm the Special Projects and Initiatives Manager for the libraries as a whole. And I've been working on I'm a project manager for the Transforming Libraries project. So looking at the remodel and rebuild of 3 of our libraries, which are the Hamlin, Midway, the Riverview, and then the Hayden Heights Library. As well as looking at system-wide investments in play and learn and technology. Yeah. So we are here to talk about the Hayden Heights Library primarily, and then we're happy to answer any questions that you might have. And to really invite you to come into the library. We did an extensive community engagement process on the design. And that was really to get the design at a point where we could take it and then use it for fundraising purposes. Situations that we're looking at. So I'm gonna go to the next slide. I can show.
I sure will. And I'm just going to move this.
Well, to detect your speaker. I'm right here.
Exactly. Yep.
And I think we can go past this one too. I've already kind of talked up all those things.
Perfect.
So we started this process back in 2018 when we were doing our strategic direction work. We did a lot of community engagement to look at what people wanted out of their libraries in general, and did extensive work. We surveyed over 3,000 people to really hear about what people wanted out of libraries. And one of the biggest things we heard is that our libraries are not keeping up with our peers. We kept hearing well used, but well worn is the phrases that we took out of that. And so in 2019, we did a facilities direction to really look at all of our libraries throughout the system. We have 13 libraries and a mobile library. And we looked at all of those to determine which ones needed the investments the most. And Hayden Heights was one of the 3 libraries that was determined that it's been too long since it's been well loved. I mean, it's still well loved. Sorry, it's been too long since it's been renovated. It was built in 1978 and has not been renovated since. Significantly, we had a new roof, but not a significant renovation since 1978. So we completed and shared that facilities direction in 2020. And then in 2021, we did community forums around the libraries to get input from the community to then be able to put out money for the CIB committee, which is the capital investments through the city. And the CIB invested in Hamlin at that time. They gave $8.1 million to Hamlin. And so the other 2 libraries were what we decided to do the fundraising for with the friends. So
That's me.
No worries.
no, we'll bring the rain for sure. And then in 2021, we did hire our architects, which is LSE Architects. And so they started a community engagement really specifically around the design. Welcome, we're talking about the Hayden Heights Library right now, so you did not miss much. So that's when we started our engagement process with LSE Architects. And then we had an artist cohort involved with that. So we had an artist that was local to this neighborhood, C. Ryder, who was part of that and listened to the community extensively. So that was kind of our community engagement process that led to the next step. What we heard from people is that libraries are essential. We know that we are often a community hub. We're offering technology resources and cooling and heating areas, and obviously our books and music and all those good things, but also meeting room spaces and all of those good things. But we are well warned. When we were talking about community engagement, we know that who you hear from the loudest is often not the only people you need to hear from. So we know that to do really good, deep community engagement, it needs to be slightly inconvenient for the people doing the community engagement. So we went out beyond library walls and made sure that we were talking to many people in the community. So I will turn this over to Jim. More about the process of what we did in this neighborhood. Yeah.
I think you can. Yep. Yeah, okay, so my name is Jennifer Brandon and I'm the branch manager for the Hayden Heights Library at White Bear.
I'm gonna ask you to be a little bit louder just because of the freezer.
Because the freezer is
Yes.
being ostentatious. Okay, so my name is Jennifer Brandon and I'm the branch manager at Hayden Heights. And we did a wide variety of community engagement, and some of that was definitely within the walls of the library, which is what Marika was talking about. But we also got out in the community. We went to the Boys and Girls Club. We came to this very rec center multiple times. We actually literally went on the streets with clipboards and surveys. As well, we went to the Hmong market on Saturdays to try and get as many folks as possible that we could talk to. And did surveys there. We did a partnership with YLI, which is the Youth Leadership Initiative. And worked with, it was in the library, but we worked with a large number of the teens who come in and use our space. About what they would like to see for the next generation of teens down the line, what they would like to see in the space. Which was very, very informative. But yeah, we tried to get out as many places as we could, and actually that slide shows one of our staff members out at the Hmong market, so, and again, what we were hearing echoes of is folks wanted their library to be more accessible. Flexible space so that the community could avail the space more effectively. They wanted to be comfortable and welcoming, just kind of a gimme, but it's an important one. There was a lot of discussion about having an environmentally responsible redesign and renovation. Safety was another one topic that came up a lot. Reflecting the cultures of our neighborhood, because we have a delightful and highly diverse community on the east side. And it's important to reflect everybody who's coming into the branch. And the other part that was really important for a lot of folks was making sure that we include elements of the history of this branch. So that can mean a lot of different things. It does definitely mean you'll be seeing some more of those orange shelves, not all of them, but some of them will be making a guest appearance. But accessibility for all community members. Now, we are lucky that we have a really wide open space in the library. Not all libraries are working with that. And that helps in some ways, but there are definitely things that, while technically ADA compliant, are not serving a lot of our community members as well as they could. And a couple of those things would be our public bathrooms, which you can open the door and the first thing you see is a wall, which seemed like a fabulous and inspired thing in 1978. But if you are someone in the 2000s who was using a wheelchair, it is almost impossible. And we had a volunteer who was in a wheelchair, a lovely person, and had a terrible time trying to get the doors open, trying to get into the bathroom, to use the bathroom. It was just a production number, and that is for sure not as welcoming as we would like. So that is a very specific example of what we were talking about. It is not the only example, but it is definitely a very specific example about what reworking the library for accessibility is going to look like.
I'll say for Hayden Heights, it is ADA compliant in most areas. But we are trying to be radically accessible and go beyond it, just what ADA expects, and really, go above and beyond. So
Yeah, and that again has the potential to look like a lot of different things, but so this, what you were looking at now, is an image of what the library could look like. This is a partial design, and it has changed a lot of things around. So if you get up and take a close look at it, you will notice that the children's area has moved to a different side of the library, and that there's a teen area where the children's area used to be. So there's a lot of different elements. Now, this is only partially completed, so there may be many changes and updates before the library actually gets renovated. So I think this is a good idea of where we're going, but it's not the final rendering. And I think it's always important to kind of emphasize that.
and also these are all on our website. So if anyone's looking for them, they're on the website that's right up there.
And we are also looking for flexible spaces for all of our community members. So one of the things that was on that, I actually want to keep that. So the red block, sort of at the top of the slide, is would be the new community room. And it is in between the spaces, but you would have to go all the way back to get to it. So I think part of that is so that people can become more familiar with the entire library as opposed to sort of ducking in and then ducking out. But it also will have sliding walls, at least on one side of it, to be able to open it up for programming, particularly in the children's area. So there will be some flexibility of how the space can be used for both programming and the community. The small red block towards the bottom of the screen is actually a flexible community and programming space. So that might be used for some of our programming. It might be used for some of our community partnerships that we're currently working on. As well as potentially community groups like this one. So, and we have, there's 3 study rooms, not just 1, 3 study rooms, which is really exciting to me. And I think will be for a lot of our folks, because we have a lot of people who come in to study and use the space. To, you know, maybe they live in a busy house and they just need to go someplace quiet to study. Or, you know, they need to have a place to duck into to make a quick video call. There's a lot of different reasons people use our study rooms. But having 3 of them will be a huge improvement for us. So.
And in addition to, next to there's the blue is restrooms, but then the top blue one is called, I think it just says well on there. And that means wellness room, which is a multi-purpose room for anyone who might need it for nursing, for prayer, for desensitization, whatever it might be to like calm yourself down. If you have a tantruming child, it might be a good place to do some redirection, all of those things that we all know, like sometimes you just need a space. Because we know that sometimes people are leaving the library to take care of basic needs when they could just stay in the library a little bit longer if they had these spaces. So that's kind of what we mean by flexibility, is giving lots of different areas that have those things.
Yeah, lots of options for folks.
And we'll skip this on.
So this is a rendering of part of what the kid space could look like. Again, the stripy walls and the specific fixtures are just sort of placeholders. But what we're seeing is obviously a callback to the orange a little bit, is a shout out to the earlier iteration of the building. But we're looking for things like comfy seating in our kids area for kids, but also the adults who come with them, or the older siblings who come with them, and permanent installations of furniture that would support playing and learning. And
In
again,
addition to the baffling on the top, which would keep the sound in the kids area.
Yep.
So that their voices don't necessarily travel throughout the whole library like they do right now.
right, so one tantruming toddler doesn't bring the entire joint to a halt, yeah. And we talked about this some about independent study, work, meeting spaces, but towards the front of the library, there will also be where the meeting room is now, for those who've been to our library. A flexible like work study space, tables, because it's a basic thing, but we've had a lot of folks who are like, I would just love to have a table where I could sit down and work on my computer, or I can be with other people but not have to talk with them and just work on my computer, or have an impromptu study group with a couple of my friends. Or we got a lot of feedback from teens and adults about the importance of having some flexible space to use for that. And again, this is sequestered sort of towards the front. So for people who were talking, it would be still sort of set away from folks who might be reading and studying in different parts of the library. So.
I was gonna say, do you want me to sit down? So we are gonna be meeting all of the state of Minnesota's B3 standards with this build, which means that we are gonna be taking many measures to be environmentally responsible. So you'll see here that there's at least gonna be the space for solar. If we don't put it on right now, we might be then able to apply for grants later down the road, so available for that. We'll be looking at heating and cooling options that are environmentally responsible as well. And then including many more green spaces. We know that this neighborhood is really needing more green spaces in it. And so we are going to be adding to it by putting a storytime garden to the left. You'll see that's right off the children's area, and so people can go, and not only children, anyone is welcome to go out to the Storytime Garden area. It's all fenced in, so families can let the children play without worrying about them running into the street. But gives some opportunity for nature, both visually and actually going out there. And then on the right is right off the teen area, and that's again introducing that nature elements. Likely, well, for sure through the windows, maybe accessible through a door. We have not worked all those elements out yet, but making sure that there's green spaces as well there that would be inviting with seating and things like that. And then in the front, putting some landscaping that's sustainable and keeps the green as much as possible along White Bear Avenue. Yeah,
Will that be restricting access from the alley
yes.
to the parking lot?
Yes.
So we have to go on to White Bear Avenue now?
We are hoping to, I believe the alleyway is going to be blocked off to mitigate the people who zoom through the parking lot and keeping, like, it makes the parking lot a little bit safer for everyone. And it gives us a place to do snow removal, because I think right now snow removal is a difficulty.
Yeah.
So that's why we push the snow in the winter. And I believe we're gonna make sure that there's a walking path, because with the heights being, there's gonna be like a path coming through. So I believe that there will be ways to walk through this way, so you won't have to, but I think it's blocked just to traffic.
And I would also point out that you'll notice the pavement color is significantly lighter. And that is intentional, as potentially helping mitigate the urban heat level. Because the dark pavement holds that heat. So some of this is very large stuff and some of it is just smaller things that help contribute to a larger change.
Yeah, and all the glass will be like bird safe, so that the bird, there's all sorts of fun things that we have to do for the B3, which I actually really appreciate. It's really fun to learn all about those standards and rainwater treatment and all that stuff. So, safety was a big one. Do you want me to talk about the safety?
Yeah, I got one into so.
If you go to the first, as I said, previous,
Oh.
sorry. Yeah, so safety is a big concern, and I've been learning a lot about safety through design, through the way that the architects are looking at it. And they said one of the biggest problems with the safety with Hayden Heights is that you can't see what you're walking into, nor can you see what you're walking out into from the library. And so you just have to take a hope that there's, safe, warm, comforting, welcoming spot in without being able to visually see it. And likewise, hope that there's nothing that you're walking into when you're walking out into White Bear Avenue. So that if you go to the next slide, this is a really easy way for us to change that, is to give these bright windows where you can see right in, you can see that, oh, this is a space where people are calmly gathering and I feel welcome in there. So that's a simple design feature that they know is the best practice. Another thing that you'll see right in those windows is a lower shelf height, and that will be throughout, so that there's good sight lines throughout the whole building, so the librarians will be able to see and other adults will be able to see throughout the whole building and really feel like they know what's happening in the whole space. We also have smart lighting on the outside, so we'll have a 24-hour book hold pickup on the outside. And then that will have some smart lighting, so when you approach it, you'll have it all illuminated for you. And then we heard things from people like at our open house events. This mother was saying, oh, I always hate when I get out of my car in the parking lot and my toddler runs to the front door, and I always hope that they make that corner and don't run into the street. And so I was like, well, we should get a wall. And the architects were like, you know what, we could just put a bench there. And we're like, oh yeah, that's a better idea. Like, let's not wall it off, but that bench will stop toddlers from running straight into the street, enough for a parent to catch up. And so little things like that we heard from the community will go a long way to make people feel a little bit safer. So there's just many elements that we heard from people of like how we could make it safer, from like where we put the bike racks to where the holds lockers are, that kind of thing.
We can go back to you can go back.
Go back.
Yeah, see that. So we're not sure exactly how this is going to play out in the final design, but it will probably look like including art from neighborhood artists. It will probably include signage in multiple languages. having a library that is designed to draw people in. So again, this is one of the ones where we are working towards it, but it is going to be a lot clearer about what that's actually gonna look like when we get a little closer to
Yeah,
the final
it would be a
design.
little premature to do that now. And just, any construction project in St. Paul needs to have 1% of it go toward, public art. So we will for sure have public art, and we know for sure that we want to be drawing from people from the neighborhood for that.
We've got a lot of talented artists in this
Yes.
neighborhood, so. And again, elements of history may take a variety of forms, but some of it is going to be callbacks.
I think you can go to the next slide to show a picture.
Yeah, so those orange shelves, and also the orange clock, which, a lot of people very specifically singled out. And, when they were talking with us about how they really love that clock, so that will be something. That will be coming with us into the new space. I expect that there will be other, forms that doing historical callbacks will take.
The skylights will remain,
Yes.
but the long tubes that make them kind of look like Star Trek tubes, which I think actually were because it was 1978 and everyone was excited about Star Trek and Star Wars. They have like tubes. Those will go, the tube part will go away, but the skylights will stay. And we will rewrap all this shelves, so they won't look so old, but we'll just keep the orange.
But yeah, they're not gonna look like they came from the 70s.
Still
The beige
maybe.
will go, the orange,
Yeah.
some of the orange will stay, but the
Yeah.
beige will go, so.
So in addition to renovating these libraries, we're also looking at system-wide investments in play and learn. And so this will impact Hayden Heights. I want to make sure that everyone knew about this. And Hayden Heights has a really great children's area. But when we're talking about play and learn, it's really about making sure that every neighborhood in St. Paul has a clean, accessible, free, temperature controlled space for families to play. And when we say young families, we mean kids ages 0 to 5 is really what we're focusing on here. Because we know that that's the only way young children learn is through play. And so we know that they need ways to play with their families, and it's hard for families to find spaces to play together. And so we know it's a limited resource, and we're trying to make sure that every neighborhood has that. And so that can be things like having a Lego table like they have at Arlington on the left there, or having magnifying glass and a microscope as activities. And they have done a wonderful job of creating kits that circle through, so it's not the same toys every single time, but they'll have new refreshed ideas. We are not going to be putting a lot of screens up there. It's going to be a lot of hands-on activities for kids, and then thinking about ways that families can be interacting together. So I think a lot of our children's spaces have children's furniture just for kids. We know now that that's a bad idea. The adults need to sit too, and adults don't have knees like little kids do. So,
They were definite to tell us.
yes, yes, the knees are growing. So we need to make sure that we have comfortable places for people to play with their children as well. So that will be a huge element for this, is really looking into what that looks like at Hayden Heights beyond what's already there. And the other thing that we're doing system-wide as part of this capital campaign is to look at technology-rich spaces. And we know that that means having access to things like this owl, and to the Wi-Fi that powers it, and to a monitor that's that's accessible, and all these wires, and the laptop, and all those things. So we will make sure that those are accessible. But what we're also hearing from people is that when they have to do a video call, because they've got a court appearance or a doctor's appointment or whatever it might be, it's that quiet space to have that call in, which is equally as important, because we know that like having all of these elements, but having to be in the middle of a library is not going to help you at all. So having spaces where people can meet in groups, large groups, small groups, and also independently is really important. So making sure that those things, and then things like outlets being everywhere. So if you come in and your phone is about to die, we've got charging stations, but also if you want to work on your laptop for a while, you've got an outlet nearby. And that outlet's accessible, and you don't have to like crawl on your knees to get to it, or under a table. So we know that these are all elements when we renovate, we will be going down to the studs and starting from fresh, so that we can really be intentional about making sure things like that are done well.
Yeah, and I would say one of the things that we for sure learned during COVID is that we serve as a digital hub for this
Yes.
community. We had people parking in our parking lot in order to avail of our Wi-Fi, and we ended up improving our Wi-Fi reach. So, and keeping it on longer so that people could do that, but. So in a lot of ways, the technology rich space is important, but it's more what people in the library are doing with the technology and how it serves them rather than the specific technology that we're offering. But yeah, a large part of this is really making the technology as accessible, the Wi-Fi the connectivity as accessible as possible to everybody in our community. So this is very much the infrastructure part of this.
Yes, yeah. And, oh, the fun part. This is neat too. So the money, so Hayden Heights is, the renovation designs as they were done a few years, or, at the end of 2023. Was that Hayden Heights is gonna be about $5.5 million. So right now we are pursuing a variety of options for public funding and private funding. And so the libraries are actually uniquely situated in the city to have a really robust friends group. They're fantastic, and they are right now doing a great job of fundraising prior to the capital campaign to get the baseline for some of that fundraising that's needed. So they're currently fundraising, and then in addition to that, we are pursuing many different options through the city. So things like CIB, through state bonding, which they actually ended up not doing this year, but we will continue to try. And then the federal earmarks, which Betty McCollum has been very generous to put Hayden Heights up now for the second time. So we are awaiting the second round, but we did get 500,000 from the first federal earmark round. And so, and other government grants. So as they come up, we are pursuing all sorts of fun things, and it's very exciting, and it also makes us very unknown. So we will not be starting until we're fully funded, and we don't know the timeline of when that's gonna happen. But we know that we are aggressively pursuing all of our options. So it could be soon, and it might be in several years, so. So really what we know is that libraries are essential infrastructures in our city, as you're hearing, not only during COVID, but throughout. We are helping people access things like Wi-Fi, like digital materials and that kind of things. But we know that Hayden Heights Library really could use some investments to make it be reaching people and getting more of the community using the library.
People come in to use our collections, but they also come in to print, they come in to use the computers, they come in to fax. We are, I think, the library with the highest fax use stuff, actually.
And to get out of the rain and to
All the
be in air conditioning and all those things.
Yeah, but. So what we're doing at the library, we have all sorts of things coming up. Summer Spark started on June 1st. If you have kids and teens, that is our summer reading program. It is a little more streamlined this year. It is running June 1st to August 31st. And kids come in and they get a log and they get a free book, and then kids come back in August. And they get another free book, and we want them to read, we want them to do things in the library and explore the world that we live in. And there are various things on the log that they can cross off, but in the end, we are also very much about getting books into the hands of the kids in our community. So that is why we have set it up like that. We are doing family story times and fun labs, and we are doing those on Saturdays. But tell everybody, you know, because we've changed the dates. And the story times are in the morning at 10:30, and fun labs are geared more towards elementary age kids, and they run in the afternoon between 3 and 4 p.m. on Saturdays. And we have also just started a mall story time, which is second and fourth Thursdays. And we have heard programming requests as people have been talking about, we would like to come to the library to do fun stuff. We have life and work stuff, but we'd like to do fun stuff. So we have started an adult crafting program, which is currently called Artful Creations. And we are going to be doing our second program in that series. And it is on the 29th of June. And it is acrylic painting, no experience required. It is free. And you should join us. We had so many adults when we were doing kids painting programs who were like, I want to do that. So this is the opportunity for the adults in our community to learn new skills that are just fun and just play and explore with no judgment and just, yeah, go someplace to be creative and relax. And on the flip side of that, we have our open labs, which is technology support. So if you have something more in depth, like you've never used an ebook before and today is the day you're determined to get started with Libby, or if you are having computer issues, or you have to sit down and make a resume and you really need some support on that both technological and moral support to keep you going. Come to our overlaps, and those are every Tuesday. And then on the last Monday of the month, we have Open to Business, which is another local partnership. And it is for folks who are looking to either start their own business, or entrepreneurs who are in the process, who already have their own business but are looking to improve and grow their prospects. And so it is a free consultation with somebody who can help with that. So, and this is just some of what we're doing, but please join us.
Do you still have the Spanish story times?
We are trying to restart that, and we had our first Spanish story time a couple of months ago, and nobody came. We promoted it while and nobody came. So we're gonna be trying to do another one probably in July. So I will be reaching out to you to help promote that.
Sure.
And spread the word, because I know there's an audience for it in this neighborhood, but we just didn't get traction with our first go out, and it does take a while sometimes to build. But yeah, we are hoping to bring that back. It won't be every couple of weeks, but we're hoping to do one at least quarterly. So.
So now we're here for you, for any questions you might have about the library or the renovation.
When is that small business?
It is the fourth Monday of the month. Mhm. So,
So it's like the next one is the 24th.
yep.
I'm just happy to see it being redone. I mean, I still have memories of the old one. And I have more positive feelings about the old one than I do about the new one. So I'm really, and I know it's not new because it was 78, but my children, my older children, we were there all the time. And it never really was inviting, and it never really made the kids want to be there. It really didn't. And even when it was brand new, I mean, my kids were born in 79 and 81. You know, the
Yeah.
older ones, and so we were there a lot, but there was nothing that made me feel, they would get their books and we'd leave.
Yeah.
We get the books and leave.
Yes.
Well, to me, it should be a place you wanna be there with your kids.
Yes.
You wanna try things, you wanna have them be able to interact with
Yes.
what's around them, and it was not like that, so I'm gonna be really happy to see this for the next generations, to not have to feel like it was a place to get a book and get out.
Thanks, Graham,
Mhm.
yeah. It wasn't the most welcoming architecture for a library. It's very sort of a little unfriendly, sort of Soviet bloc brutalist office
Even when we
building.
moved here, well, me and my kid moved here when he was 5, and we would always go to Roseville or
Yep.
Maplewood just because it's more inviting. It's bigger, of course. I know it's a smaller neighborhood library, but there was just more
Yep.
play stuff, more.
And, you know, both of the things that y'all are talking about are exactly what we're trying to get at with this redesign, is to have this engaging, warm space where people can just, you know, come and hang out, whether they're hanging out with their families or hanging out to do work or just read. Because we still have folks who like to come in and read the newspapers every day and just come in and read because they can hang out in a corner where it's quiet. And, you know, that's part of what this is all about too. It's just different ways to welcome folks. But yeah, a much more welcoming, like once you get in now, our children's space is actually really welcoming and lovely, and we have art from the kids in the wall and all this stuff, but it's actually getting past that sort of brick front.
And giving it windows and
And yeah,
things
so you
like
can
that.
see that it's actually a library doing fun stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, because that's the one thing is if you didn't have the big library sign out there, you wouldn't know it was a library.
Right, and people, I still think we have the power of invisibility.
Yeah.
I've had more people who call us being like, where are you? And I'm like, literally in front of you. We had that happen.
Here.
You're in my parking lot. That's a library? It really is.
It really is.
Yeah, signage was never its plus, that's for sure.
No, no.
And it looked like it was in an industrial building.
Yes.
That's exactly the way I would have described it from the
Yep.
very beginning. They could have at least painted it or put something pretty on the side of it or something. There's murals. I mean, there were a way to make it look like it was a community building rather than someplace you would go to work.
Yeah, and having white brick, so it's guaranteed to just literally disappear from your line of sight for half the year when there's snow on the ground. That's maybe not what I would have chosen aesthetically, but.
And I know I've talked to you about a lot of
You
things,
have.
so I won't bring out too much more here. I'll let other people speak, but I know I've said a lot about it to you.
And we're glad because you participated in a lot of those forums and you talked to staff about it and that's been really helpful. So,
What I heard over and over again from the architects is that this building has really good bones. They kept being like, this has got the good bones. But man, can they, and they're like, this is gonna be our pet project. They're so excited about getting involved there. And they've got really great ideas, so.
And HVAC will be all updated.
Oh,
And the
yes,
heat will be
everything.
better around the whole building. And
Yep.
cooling will be, and all, there won't be those spots that work. Okay.
we're
yes.
hoping to get rid of the microclimates, yeah.
Oh, yeah, okay, yeah.
And for $5.5 million, can we just get another library space?
It's not needed in this one. You've got really good bones, so,
Also, a new building would be a lot more
yes,
expensive.
it would be more expensive, yes.
$5.5 million sounds like a lot of money, but if for a brand new building, it would be a lot more money, unfortunately.
Yeah.
During the renovation, will there be any services at this location, like home pickups?
Really good question. We, so right now, we, closed the Hammond Library. What we did is increase bookmobile services in the neighborhood so that there would be stops around. So this might be a location where the bookmobile would be in the parking lot, for example, and then, that's down the road a ways, but, that's one way that we've increased services. And then, just really highlighting where the other libraries might be that are nearby, and your St. Paul Library card will work up in Maplewood, also the Arlington Hills Library. But yeah, we do, we're hoping to not have like too many libraries close at the same time, so that we can have, some backup services as well. It's a really good question.
Any other questions?
How much did it,
How much more would it cost?
the one on Snelling? Are you talking about the Hamlin Library on Minnehaha?
Oh,
Oh, yeah. It's that building, there's no viable alternative to it right now.
And having had meetings in that moldy, lovely basement of that library,
Oh, yeah.
no, it's not good, not good. Yeah. Any other questions for our library folks?
I have a clarifying question.
Oh.
Online.
Oh, cool.
Yes, did you say that
We can't hear
during,
you.
Can't hear you. Let me see. Looks like we're having some problems with our speakers. Can I have you write it in the chat?
yes, yes, yes.
Okay. I don't know what's going on here.
I'm flashing light.
Ah.
That's better?
All right. Okay, clarifying, did you say you'll have delivery services during construction?
Oh, so during construction, we will look into other options. So one of them might be, increasing bookmobile stops in this neighborhood, for example, or, and that kind of thing. So we wouldn't necessarily have delivery services because our only location is, will be completely a construction zone. So we have to look at maybe doing things with community partners or other spaces.
We have for repurposing the whole bunker.
That's a little tricky.
Yeah, I figured it might be, yeah, okay.
Any other questions for our friends from the library? All right, well, thank you so much for dodging the raindrops.
Oh, yes.
Coming in, we will be placing this online, and then sending links out in our e-newsletter as well, just so people can, who were afraid of coming in through the raindrops, can view it.
Me and John saw a huge rainbow.
Well,
Yeah, right before we got here, it was like way across the sky.
Did it end here?